Apocalyptic movies always offer you a different vibe and a unique story, right? If you two agree with this with us, we've got an amazing movie for you. In this video, we're going to talk about the film Survive to its core and how the movie shows a character's growth both internally and externally. You will enjoy this journey for sure, so let's get started. Jane isn't like most survivors. Although she seems smart, pretty, and young, she's going through a lot of mental trouble. Jane is about to give up because life has not been nice to her. She has already decided that she's going to end it all. She gets on a small plane and heads to a rehab center in Alaska that is far away. She has no plans to ever come back. Paul, on the other hand, is clever and driven. He has to fight his demons, but his heart is still strong. Something bad can't stop Paul. He always finds a way to make things better. He thought he knew what would happen next, but he was wrong. Something terrible happens as the plane flies over the harsh Alaskan desert. It's a miracle that anyone is still alive after the plane crashes, but Paul and Jane do. There is nothing but ice, snow, and miles of nothing around them. They are the only two people who are still living. The crash is a very bad event. The plane falls from the sky and hits the icy ground with such force that it breaks bones. Jane and Paul wake up in the middle of the wreckage, stressed and lost. They quickly come to terms with the fact that they're alone and maybe hundreds of miles from anyone else. Getting by is no longer just an idea. It's an instant and important fact. Now, Jane is fighting for her life with all the power she still has. She was ready to give up on it, and Paul, who was just another traveler a short time ago, is the only way for them to stay alive. Paul steps up right away. He's a natural leader. Stays calm when things get tough, and his reflexes to survive kick in right away. To get through even the next few days, he knows they need to find a place to stay, food, and warmth. The wild places in Alaska are beautiful, but they can also be dangerous. The temperatures drop to scary lows, and there are hidden risks all over the landscape. Jane is cold and detached at first. When she thinks about her past, it makes her feel bad, and it's clear she's not in the best mood. Paul won't give up on her, though. He gives Jane hope and helps her see that even though things are bad, life is still worth fighting for. They start to find their flow as a group. They look through the wreckage for food, blankets, and a small first aid kit, taking whatever they can. It's not much, but it's something. For example, Paul shows Jane how to make a fire, find water, and stay warm when it's cold outside. The days are very long and hard. They have to deal with a lot of problems like the bitter cold and not having enough food. Every little win feels like a big deal, and they catch a fish and eat it for a feast. They hide out in a small cave that looks and feels like a castle. Every day they make it through feels like a victory, but it also makes them realize how dangerous their position is. With time, Jane starts to change as they go on this trip together. She feels like she has fire inside her again that was almost out. She starts to think that maybe, just maybe, they can make it out of this alive because of how determined and strong Paul is. More and more, Jane and Paul depend on each other, which makes their bond stronger. They tell each other stories about their lives, their fears and hopes. He lets Jane talk about her problems, and he listens to her actively. Their friendship makes it clear that they've both been through a lot. In this frozen wasteland, they find comfort in each other. But the wild doesn't forgive. Their position gets worse as the days turn into weeks. They're weak because they haven't eaten in a while, and the cold is hurting their bones. They don't give up, though, and keep going one step at a time. A huge snowstorm is one of the scariest things that can happen. They can only see a few feet in front of them because the snow is so thick and the wind is howling like a beast. They try to keep the fire going by huddling together for warmth. Both your mind and body will be put to the test. Jane and Paul are under a lot of stress, but they keep going. The storm ends after what seems like forever. They're barely alive. In this open and honest moment, Jane and Paul share a sweet and heartbreaking moment. It's no longer just about staying alive, it's about living. They went from being strangers to something much deeper because they both went through the same thing. But tragedy hits just as things look like they might be getting better. While Paul is trying to get wood for the fire, he gets hurt. Jane is scared to think that she might lose the one person who has kept her going all this time because of the major injury. At this point, Jane has completely changed. She used to be ready to give up, but now she fights. She doesn't want Paul to die. Based on everything Paul has taught her, she fixes him up as best as she can and now is in charge of their safety. It's a nasty, heart-pounding fight. Jane fights the cold, the hunger, and the fear, but she doesn't give up. She feels like she has a new purpose in life and is determined to stay alive. She walks through the snow with Paul, who is now weak and hallucinating, getting closer and closer to what she hopes is safety. Then, miraculously, they're saved. As a search party looks for signs of the lost plane in the wilderness, they come across them. Jane and Paul are saved and brought back from the edge of death. They will never be the same after what happened. No one can. Jane used to think life didn't have any value, but now she knows how important hope, strength, and the will to live are. Paul, who has always been strong, finds strength in being weak because he knows that he can't fight any battle by himself. Their story is about how they managed to stay alive, not only against the weather, but also against the darkness inside them. The story is about how you can find light in the strangest places, how strangers can become close, and how the human spirit will never give up, even when it seems like everything is lost. As Jane and Paul are flown to safety, they give each other one last look that shows thanks, respect, and understanding. They made it through hell together, and there is peace in that moment, as the chopper takes them out of the frozen wilderness. The fact that they made it through gave them something much more valuable than just their lives, a reason to live. Mark Pellington is the director of Survive. Pellington is great at making intense, moody moments that stay with you long after the movie is over. Pellington's task for Survive was to show both the huge, scary wilderness and the two main characters' close personal journey. His direction is all about making the audience feel every bit of fear, sadness, and hope that Jane and Paul go through. The photographer for Survive is David Devlin. He is responsible for taking the beautiful and scary pictures in the movie. The photography is very important in this movie because the setting is so important. Survive by Devlin is all about contrasts. The beautiful but dangerous Alaskan desert is used to show how the characters are struggling inside. One of the most amazing things about Devlin's filmmaking is how he can catch the little quiet moments. Everything he sees, from the flicker of a campfire to the way the sun hits the snow at dawn, seems so important to him. His camera work not only shows how big the forest is, but also zooms in on how fragile the character's humanity is. Moreover, the editor, Arndt Wolf P. Moeller, did a great job in Survive. His work is what keeps the drama high and the pace just right. Editing is very important in survival movies like this one. It determines whether a scene is exciting or drags on for too long. It's also great how P. Moeller edits the story because he balances the two main parts, the characters' internal fights and the struggle against the wilderness. By putting these different parts together with care, he makes sure that none of them overpower the other, letting both shine. Survive's composer, Olafur Arnalds, is known for making haunting, simple music that goes well with the movie's emotional tone. The music in Arnold's score isn't big and powerful, it's instead soft, gentle, and very moving. Survive's song is a lot like another character in the movie. It rises and falls with the story, making the mood better without taking over. The music is sparse and cold when Jane and Paul are fighting through the freezing wilderness, which fits with the harsh environment and their dire situation. When there is connection and hope, though, Arnold's score adds warmth with soft strings and piano notes that lift the scene. Survive is such an interesting and memorable experience because of how well this creative team can work together, with each person adding their special skills. The movie is just not about making it through the desert, it's about making it through life. And the artists who made it have done an amazing job of getting that message across. Which moment from the film do you like the most? Do share with us in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.